This is Lee from the Law School Toolbox and the Bar Exam Toolbox. Why do people fail the bar exam? Tina, one of our tutors, is here to share her thoughts. Thanks, Tina, for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so you help folks study for the California bar primarily. And so why do you think most people fail the bar?
So I've been doing this tutoring now for about 4 years. I kind of feel like people fall sort of into different categories in terms of the students that I've seen. I definitely have had a few students that, I think they were just naturally smart people that tended to cram during law school. And the main reason they failed is because I think it just didn't take the bar as seriously as they should have, because bar studying is a marathon. It needs a lot of discipline throughout and consistency throughout. So a lot of these people, a couple that are sort of naturally get things and never have had to work that hard. I think sometimes the bar comes out of nowhere and hits them a little bit.
Yeah.
So then I think there's another category of people that are actually I would say really good at the discipline. They usually have done like a organized program of some kind, and they did almost everything they were supposed to do, but somehow something just didn't really click for them. Whether it's memorization didn't really click for them, or they never really got what bar essay writing is like. So I think some of these programs that they went through are more very, very heavy on just passive studying. You're watching a lot of lectures, you're reading a lot of outlines. There isn't as much focus on pen to paper type of practice. And that part they never really got. So part of it is not having feedback throughout the whole process. So they went through all the motions like they're supposed to do, but during the bar, they just weren't able to execute at the level that they needed to in order to pass. So for these people, I think, they just really need to figure out a more individualized plan in terms of what works for them to really get memorization down, and then learning how to write a bar essay, which is kind of like a formula, but you just need to do it and have feedback about what you're doing wrong or what could be. And then I think definitely have had a couple of other students where, and I think these are probably the toughest ones to have. It's the ones that would just really severe test anxiety. I've definitely even had students where they go through the whole process of studying and have just walked out of the bar. Those are probably the hardest students I feel like I've had, because there's not much you can do during the study period to help. They can do everything they're supposed to do, and then come test, sort of falls apart.
Yeah. I mean, it shows how important it is to take care of yourself and really work on being the best whole person that you can be showing up to the test. That if you're struggling with anxiety, then make sure that you have support in that category of your life. Because if you show up and the anxiety is what shows up in the room, you can't perform your best. You're not going to be able to think clearly. Or then you make a choice like walking out, and then you don't even have the opportunity to kind of right the ship. I think those situations are so heartbreaking, but there is just kind of an honesty about how are you going to help yourself be your best self when you show up.
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. I think mental state, mental health, whatever you want to call it, is such a huge part of bar studying. Because it's such a marathon process, for sure.
It really is. I know. So what do you think is the most important thing someone should consider when sitting again for the test, to retaking the bar?
I definitely think kind of like what we just talked about, making sure you're absolutely mentally prepared to do this. I think if you have, especially if you failed the bar once, it's a lot harder the second time around. So, right, the burnout comes a lot easier. And it's just tedious to have to do it again. And a lot of times, if you are taking it again, you've moved on from full-time bar study. You have a job to balance or something like that. So I think just making sure that you have the mental capacity and also that you've devoted the time you need in your schedule to devote to this task. Because um, even the second time around, it's not it's not something you can just pick up on the weekends or anything like that. You really need to make sure that you have time mentally and in your schedule. Um, Especially also because almost every student I've ever had has had some sort of life issue come up, whether it's like having to move unexpectedly, that's the family, like something comes up. Um, and then just so it's just like I think you just have to be mentally in that place where you're putting aside the time and the effort and the mental
Yeah.
capacity to devote to it.
And think of it as sometimes putting deposits in the bank because life happens, right? I mean, life goes
Yes.
on. So if you're steadily putting these kind of steady deposits in, then if a weekend disappears or
Yes.
you get sick for a week, it's not going to take down the whole thing. But if you're not doing that kind of steady preparation, and then you
Yeah.
keep pushing the big boulder down the road and see, I'm just trying to see how many metaphors I can use, but if you're pushing
Yes.
everything down the road, but then like you're a month out and then something
Yeah.
happens, you can't come back from that.
No, there's no more space in your schedule to come back from
Yeah.
that. Um, and 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 that's the thing. It always happens. Every single student, I think, goes through that, right? And then it comes to the place where we're sort of triaging. And then I think that's where the mental health component also comes in because that's when something unexpected happens, that's when the stress level goes up, the anxiety level goes up. And it's really important to be at a good place mentally so that you can take a step back and be like, this is not the end of the world. We can figure out what to prioritize to get back on track, whatever getting back on track might look for you at that
Right.
point in time.
Totally. And what is the one thing
Well,
you find yourself saying to students over and over again?
um, I think this is all going to circle back to mental health component again, but um, I think it's just try not to sweat the small stuff, if that makes sense. Because I think I have had so many students that, when they go through our program, they have a strict schedule, right? And they're like super worried about making sure to check out every single task and all of that stuff, which at the beginning I think is very important because we want to make sure that they know that these are all important tasks. But at some point during the study time, it always happens that they get off track. And then it comes to be like, okay, when that happens, it's not the end of the world, and we're going to figure out what we need to do. It might be things like trying to figure out what works for you better in terms of studying. What tasks can we just mark off? Remove it from your site so you're not worrying about it. Um, because like you said, like when you're not in a good mental state, that's when like the spiral happens and then you become unproductive. Even if you are studying like you're supposed to, you're just almost like checking out tasks and not getting anything out of it. Um, so I think that is probably the thing. Like take a breath. We're gonna figure this out, and then we'll just go through and figure out what we're prioritizing, mark off things that we're not going to worry about. And I think it's that kind of goes hand in hand with the other thing I hear from my students all the time is like a lot of them just want to know throughout. Am I going to pass? Am I going to pass? And they're very focused on that. And I feel like also trying to get them away from that because at the end of the day, what matters is if you are studying and memorizing the best that you can at the time that you have. Um, I feel like worrying about am I at the place where I'm going to pass or not is just such it's a distraction, a mental distraction for them that it's completely understandable. I've been there too, but I'm constantly repeating myself for them. Try not to do that because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter because they're all going to take the test anyway.
It's true. And you're really just like giving it to the graders. I mean, we have very little control over exactly what happens,
Yeah,
right? All you can do is present your best self and your
right.
best work product and then hope for the best. There's no guarantees.
Yes, exactly. And it's very human to want that guarantee, right? From a tutor or from anybody, just to know, um, or like, when students start to like go down like the Reddit black holes, we'll call
Oh,
them,
yeah.
which,
The
um,
Reddit. Just
yes,
stay off
always
of
trying to tell,
Reddit.
Exactly.
Stay
I
off
could
of
say
it.
that a lot. They also say that a lot. Because I feel like I think this most students will do best when they're just focused on their own studying, trying to figure out what do I need to do versus any sort of comparison with anybody else or trying to figure out these external factors that you have really no control over.
Yeah.
So
Oh, that's a good one. Stay off of Reddit. I like that. We'll add that to the list.
yeah.
It's true. Sometimes I go on Reddit to see what people are talking about, and it's anxiety inducing to me. And I am
And you're
not
not even
studying for the
taking the
bar
bar.
exam. I know. I know. It's been a long time since I've sat for the bar.
Yeah.
I still
Yeah.
find it anxiety inducing. So,
I completely agree. And I can see why I've had, you've probably heard the same thing. I have so many students that talk about all these essay predictions and stuff, and how accurate they are. And I'm like, if they really were that accurate, why are we even here? Right?
I
Like,
know it's true.
but it's kind of crazy the kind of things you hear people read
Yeah.
about.
I always say I don't like to gamble. And so I'm like, I don't gamble in anything. And people swore on my bio exam that you would never see remedies. It would told it during the bar um, exam lectures that we did. I mean, they said it
Yeah.
was on everything. And I am not a gambling person. And so the morning, because I took it when it was 3 days, the morning of the
Okay.
third day, I knew that they hadn't tested it yet. And I didn't take
Yeah.
it in law school. So I spent my morning with copy reading my remedies outline. And what
And it showed
was
up.
question number 4, but a full remedies question. And I was feeling so good about myself because I was like, I
Yeah.
don't gamble. And I had friends who chose not to study remedies based on the predictions. And that was a huge
Yeah.
mistake. And it's just not worth it.
It is not. I
No.
completely agree.
Yeah.
Because like, we ended up bar grading, like we don't kind of like a black box in some ways, but we all know that if you write something down,
Hmm.
something that remotely looks like an answer, you're going to get points that you need no matter what, right?
Yeah.
It's better off than being completely clueless about any subject at
Yeah.
all.
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much for
So
your time, Tina. This was great. If you enjoyed this video, please take a second to give us a like and leave a comment. And be sure to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any future content. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to us via our website contact form at barexamtoolbox.com. Thanks for watching.